Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a pen from Laban. Now, Laban make some of my favorite pens. The 325 model being that, the Fire version and the Sun version, absolutely incredible. I've also reviewed the Solar, which is one of their more affordable options, and today we are looking at the Rosa. Now, the Rosa is an acrylic pen, and it is a beautiful pen, and the packaging, as you can see, it comes in, is quite nice. This lovely box with a drawer. You open it up, the pen normally sits under there, and you get a little bookmark and some stuff like that. But we're not here to look at the packaging, we're here to look at the pen. And visually, this is a really beautiful pen. In a lot of ways, this design reminds me of a number of pens. If we look at things like the Leonardo Memento Zero here, similar sort of peaked finials and all those kinds of similar dimensions. It's slightly different, but the Mayora Impronte, similar sort of Italian kind of design, and even down to things like the Pen BBS. This is the model 309, has a similar, shall we say, silhouette to this pen. And this material, this sort of marbled material, this is the burgundy marble version of the Laban Rosa, is really lovely. Like, it's beautiful. Okay, so we're going to talk about the parts and features of the pen. I'll do a writing sample, talk about some pros and cons. Let's get started. Okay, so peaked finial, as I said, you get the clip ring there. Well, it's not even a clip ring. It's not even attached to the clip. It's just like a little ring on the end there. The clip is set into the pen and is spring loaded and is very nice. It's actually also a nice simple design. It's kind of got this like little peaked triangle clip there, which is great. The cap swells out. We get this cap band with a version of like that Greek key kind of symbology happening there. Then cap, small step down onto the barrel. The barrel continues along, tapers down, another gold ring, and then a peaked finial. The cap is a screw cap, and it uncaps in just over one turn. You've got some very, very minor step down through the threads onto the section, another gold ring. The section tapers, a little tiny flare at the end, and we get this number 6 size nib, which is branded with Laban and then Iridium, and it's got the Laban logo on it there. The pen is an international standard cartridge converter pen, and the pen is provided with a converter. It is not provided with a cartridge, but it is provided with a converter, which I appreciate. And metal threads onto the acrylic there. It's, so, just kind of eyedropper, things like that. On the surface, it's a fairly nice pen. Simple plastic feed, nice simple design. Not a big pen, but comfortable in the hand. And that's about it, really, from this perspective. Size comparison here with the Lamy Safari. You see it's actually longer than the Lamy Safari by about 5 millimeters. However, uncapped, it is considerably smaller. This is the sort of size pen that a lot of people are going to need to post. Posted, it comes in shorter than the Lamy Safari, but it's an okay length. It's actually quite a nice length in the hand. So what are the dimensions of the Laban Rosa? Well, it's 145 millimeters when it is capped. It's 125 when it is uncapped. So smallish, okay, but smallish. 154 when it is posted. So nice, good solid length. The middle of the section there is around 11 millimeters, so it's a perfectly usable size, and because of that number 6 size nib, you are a nice distance away from the page. The pen weighs 26 grams, and here is where we hit our first kind of issue. 14 grams in the body of the pen, 12 in the cap. If this is a pen you need to post, you are putting almost half the pen's weight on the back of the pen, which is just verging on, if not beyond, back weighting the pen. I find when I write with this posted, I end up holding it back on the threads, which is okay because they're smooth, but in my natural sort of holding position, you do feel the cap on the back of the pen. The Laban Rosa retails in the US for $140. So for a steel nib, and I'm not going to put a brand on this nib because it is not branded. It looks to be, it does, it's sort of, it's hard to say. 140 I think would be an okay price if everything lined up. Let's do a writing sample. I'm going to write with this unposted. What we have here is the Laban Rosa. This is a number 6 steel nib. And the ink I have in this today, I should say this is, I think, a medium. And the ink I have in this is Diamine 0, which is pretty much a bang-on match for this pen, and a fabulous ink. Let's do some writing. So, a couple of things you might notice. Firstly, there is definitely feedback on this nib. It's not scratchy in any way. It's relatively smooth and, you know, feels okay on the page, but there is feedback, and it's almost verging on too much feedback. And I've spoken about this on other pens, including like the original nibs that came on these Pen BBS pens I commented on, and the Narwhal pens and things like that. These nibs, they don't write super smooth. So this is as it came out of the box. I haven't tuned this, I haven't done anything. The only thing I've done is this is the second flush of ink through the pen. So when I got the pen, I inked it, I had some issues, I washed it, I cleaned it, I flushed it, I re-inked it with this ink, and this is what we're getting. So there's a little bit of feedback. The nib itself it is verging on too much feedback. As I said, it's not scratchy, but it's too much feedback. Let's just do some fast writing. Okay, so hilariously, it's writing very well in that. But if we look at the original writing sample here, there's like slight skipping in the T, there's slight skipping on the L. It's almost kind of like railroad skipping. I find that a lot. This nib is really inconsistent. I find it dries out a lot. Reverse writing, hit and miss. It's not a flex nib. Just putting more ink on the page and making it quite wet. General writing with this pen, as I said, it's inconsistent. It can be nice and have nice flow like this, or it can be incredibly dry like some of the stuff we were getting up here. It's very inconsistent, and it's a little bit frustrating. The amount of times when I first write with this pen that I get hard starts. Basically, if you leave this pen capped for more than half an hour and you go back to it, it's going to kind of hard start and be rough. It's just the way this pen works. Or does it work? That's the question. Okay, so, but yeah, when it writes well. It's just not consistent enough a writer for me. So I just filmed this review about 3/4 of an hour ago of the Laban Rosa here. So I'm just gonna test out this nib writing fresh. And you can see that's the kind of thing you get. It's these kind of like rough, hard starts. And then after a while, it kind of writes reasonably well. But you just get these skips and hard starts and stuff. Frustrating. So what are the pros and cons? Well, cons, easy ones to start with. That nib, the feedback, the dryness, the inconsistency. It's, for me, kind of unforgivable. I can fix this nib, perhaps I can smooth it out, I can do a little bit of work to make it a bit wetter, but this is as it comes in the box, and not everyone is going to be comfortable or have the knowledge to be able to tune a nib themselves. And it's such a shame because the pen looks beautiful, and, you know, the product descriptions are all lovely and all of that kind of stuff. It's a bit weird. And this is a model they're still producing. Like, this isn't an old model that they moved on from. They're still producing this model and new versions of it. A couple of other things, like the balance of the pen capped, just posted, just too back heavy. There's the converter rattles a lot, like carrying the pen and, you know, you hear it rattling. I don't enjoy that. But for me, one of the biggest things, this is just like, I don't know if this will come up, so I'll try and get it to, like, that noise is just so unfortunate. You know, if we look at another pen, I've got the Leonardo Memento Zero here, like very different price point, but that's how a pen should cap. Not, and it's not, there's things stuck in the threads, like, I don't know what this is. It's just not a particularly well finished pen in that way. There are some pros. I really like that traditional design, you know, that sort of Italianate shape and feel of it. I love this material. It actually reminds me of some vintage pens, like you know, some of those Parker Vacs and stuff like that. Those marbled sort of materials they would use. And the polish on this and the, you know, the finishing is lovely. In that respect, as I said, visually, this is a beautiful pen. The gold trim matches in perfectly. It kind of does all those things. And yes, I could put a new nib on here, and I could get a new converter. It wouldn't necessarily fix those crunchy, grindy threads. But there are things I could do to make this a better writer, and I probably will invest in it because I do love the aesthetic of the pen. But you shouldn't necessarily have to at $140 when there are pens coming out of Chinese manufacturers for the equivalent of, you know, $5 that write perfectly first time every time. These sorts of things shouldn't happen. I just wanted to come back again and make one last little sort of like caveat here just before I round up this video. This pen, the Laban 325 here, is an amazing pen. And I think that's the sun finish. It's just beautiful and it writes so well, but it's got a lovely sort of Jowo nib on it, and a lot of quality control, beautiful threads, all of that kind of stuff. It's the QC that is an issue here, firstly, but also I think to a point, it's pen companies trying to cut some costs by not putting good quality nibs on their pens, not finishing threads, lowering the quality of converters, and that's something we're seeing across the board a little bit. I don't think every nib needs to be a Jowo nib or a Bock nib or even a Schmidt, but I think if you're taking the time to, if you're putting a different nib on the pen, take the time to put some work into it, because if you're spending $140 on a pen, it should kind of write better than this. So this was my review of the Laban Rosa. I still love Laban as a brand. As I said, that 325 model is probably one of the best pens that I have in my collection. I absolutely adore it. So when you get a pen that doesn't quite match the quality of that, it is a shame. But thank you for watching. I hope you found it interesting and useful. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button. Please give me, if you've got products you think I should be looking at, let me know. If there is a way you'd like to support the channel, please get in touch. I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.